All right, all you positive heads. On this week's Soul Share episode, I'm very excited to have Dr. Shai Tubali here with me on the show. Shai is an internationally renowned author, speaker, and philosopher with over 21 books published in 13 languages. Super excited to have you here. Hello, Shai. Welcome to the show, my friend.
I'm also extremely excited to meet you and to have this dialogue. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for taking the time to come on. And I'm going to kick things off with my cliche opening question, which is this. You're in an elevator. The woman next to you looks over, says, "What's your passion?" You have 10 floors to answer. What do you say?
Okay. Well, I'd say my mission in life is to show people that there is a spark of infinite consciousness deep inside their minds and hearts. And when they tap into this spark of infinite consciousness, this can empower them to liberate themselves from suffering and discover that they're the grace they have been waiting for.
I like that last piece that you shared, being the grace, because I feel like for us, I've heard it said before, for us to all make it, some level of grace needs to be you can take it so far, and then there needs to be some level of grace from, some would say, God or the universe, but really at the end of the day, if it's all you, it's self grace is what I think you're saying. At
Yes,
the end of the day,
yes,
so I think
yes. Otherwise, there's just waiting.
right. So I like that a lot. And so if you would share whatever feels most relevant to share regarding your backstory. I always like to get some context for who I'm talking to and give the audience some context. So whatever feels relevant to share, please.
Of course, yes. Well, I'll briefly describe that I've been, you can say, in the business of revealing the secrets of consciousness of the human mind for already 3 decades, inspired by an initial direct experience of expansion of my own consciousness, an experience of universal consciousness at the early age of 23. And ever since, I've been driven to develop or to explore this kind of knowledge through methods that I've developed to enable people to get in touch with these states themselves, therapeutic methods, trauma work, but also, surprisingly, for the last 7 years, also as an academic philosopher. I've felt driven to also explore consciousness and the potential of human mind, even in the face of AI, in objective ways, which means also understanding that using my intellect. And this has been my work.
Yeah, very, very cool. So you said at the age of 23, you had a profound experience that kind of blasted you open.
Yes, blasted me open is the right term. Yes, it was just a sincere moment during a silent retreat in the presence of the one who was then my first spiritual teacher, and this simply enabled me.
Excuse me.
Bless you. Enabled me. Uh, Direct realization of everything that previously I had been reading in books, in scriptures. It enabled me to tap into this transcendent state of going beyond the self, realizing that actually my consciousness is one with the universe, and this has ever since been my greatest love affair in life, my greatest source of excitement and passion.
It's exciting once you realize the truth of the situation in which we all find ourselves, and that is that we're one with the source consciousness that creates and animates all things, right? And
Wonderfully said. Yes, yes,
yeah,
yes.
well, yeah, I'd love to hear some about, I know you've written a bunch of books in that time. You've definitely been
Mhm.
a busy guy. And your most recent one is the seven chakra personality types. And so I'm very intrigued. I have not read the book, but I'm intrigued by the idea of.
Hmm.
Am I hearing it correctly that they're each chakra? Someone can have a core personality type that's aligned with a particular chakra. Uh, would you say like their fundamental self, is aligned with a particular chakra?
Yeah, that's it. I will just make a clarification that the title of the new book is actually Your Chakra Personality. It is a sequel to my 2018
Mm,
book, The Seven Chakra Personality Types.
got it. Got it.
This was the first time that I introduced the system, and now it's an in-depth exploration of the system. So this is exactly so, and it all started because when I met my second teacher, a certain American yogi who introduced me to the world of chakras, the world of kundalini, the world of the subtle body through actually direct initiations. Um, I was introduced at that time to chakras as simply a ladder, the traditional ladder of development. You start with the root chakra, you climb up all the way to the crown chakra toward illumination.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that implies, of course, a universally valid process, a universal process applicable to all. But what I discovered at a certain point through observation, looking at people's personalities, because I was really questioning why is it that certain people have uh, different experiences of life, different perceptions of life, different interpretations of life. Why do some people value certain meanings and sources of happiness, whereas others would overlook them completely?
Right.
And that led me to discover that aside from this universally valid ladder of development, chakras also contain a very surprising and exhilarating message about our, we can say, our soul blueprint or our most innate design.
Mm-hmm.
And that means that some of our chakras are not accidentally, but fully cosmically intentionally are stronger than others.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you can imagine it as if you have this kind of column around which the seven chakras are intertwined,
Mm-hmm.
but but at least three of them are serve as centers of gravity. They 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 are more vibrant. They are more laden with energy, with intensity, and this kind of intensity implies a deeper design that eventually gives rise to our personality. But really, at core, this is the design coming out, emerging from our very soul, showing us what we're supposed to focus on in this lifetime in order to become accomplished souls, and what we should balance in order to become complete,
Mm,
whole.
mm. Yeah. So I'm assuming you have a way to help people figure out what their core chakra is. And then, it makes a lot of sense too, because it's like we didn't all come to be doctors, or we didn't all come to be, you know, sports stars or athletes, or, it's like people have different core, you know, trajectories as a soul. You can see the person who came in and was meant to be a brilliant quantum physicist is very different than the programming of someone who came in to be, you know, maybe an artist, right? A painter,
Right. Yes.
right? Very different wiring in a sense. And so, yeah, it makes sense that that would somehow correlate to the chakra system, which is so fundamental to our, it's sort of our, our operating system in a way of the body. So, yeah, I'm curious how one discovers what the chakra is most fundamental to their you know being in this lifetime.
Yeah, you said it so beautifully that we have this kind of programming that clearly sets us aside from other people. So, and sometimes we become aware of this kind of pattern, energetic pattern that defines us, that is like our, you can say, our inner compass, leading us toward certain passions, toward certain pursuits. And sometimes people they feel that this kind of pattern is limiting, but I think that this pattern is extraordinarily beautiful. It has been planted in us by the cosmos itself, the greatest
Right.
creator, the genius creator.
Right.
So I think that that's an important key to self-love, when we realize that that this has been planted in us, and it's it's deeply intentional. So, as to your question, well, first of all, it's important to understand that discovering your chakra type, and we're talking here about an interplay of three major chakras. There is the primary chakra type, a secondary chakra type, and a supportive chakra type. And we'll probably explore this notion later. But it's important to understand that the journey toward identifying these three type structure is actually very meaningful. It's not like astrology or numerology, where you just type in your numbers,
Yeah.
and immediately you have this kind of map produced for you, and you are being told what you are, who you are.
Right.
Here it's all about digging beneath layers of conditioning, getting in touch, getting closer to your essence. So that's why it's significantly a gradual process of revelation. It starts usually with a questionnaire. It's a fun questionnaire consisting of 25 questions, asking you all those essential questions about how do you perceive life? What is life all about for you? What is the main part of your being that reacts to people, that encounters the world? How you engage with others? How you love spending your time? What makes you feel most alive in life? What has been your most fundamental experience in life ever since you can remember yourself? Also, perhaps your most fundamental frictions, and so on. Or what do you do when you experience a challenging emotion? What your primary relationship with the world has been? Perhaps it has been through uh, through playfulness and experimentation, but perhaps through conquest and competition, or emotions, and so on and so forth. So that's the questionnaire, and it helps us usually pinpoint our primary chakra type. That's the easiest. But then there is also learning about each of the types, listening or reading about these types attentively and patiently, and then evaluating the presence of that type in our being in percentage. So sometimes people listen or read about a certain type, and it's bingo, it's 100%. I have it. And when you have this, it's it's an immediate feeling of being at home. It's an immediate feeling of alignment. So this can be a very emotional experience. And the third way when we are beginning to go more deeply, of course, all these practices appear in the book. There are different writing practices that heighten our awareness. And the most important thing in the writing practices is identifying our primal narrative. This is a very fundamental concept. Our primal narrative is all about discovering, getting in touch, or defining the main friction that we've had with the world and with ourselves ever since childhood. And each of us has a certain main conflict or main yearning that has been thwarted, frustrated throughout our lives. So the beautiful thing is that when we recognize this primal narrative, it leads us directly to our primary chakra type, because our primary chakra type has two things to tell us, and two things it is defined by. One, our main sources of happiness, our main sources of meaning in life, and two, our main frictions with life, our shadow work.
Yeah, right. They're always integrated and connected deeply, right? The the heights of what is possible for you. The higher the branches, the deeper the roots, and so I think that's really you know important to understand, and I think a lot of times it's easy for us to get caught up on the shadow and how it's such a problem and such a issue, and it's like, and that's energy that's meant to be transmuted to lead you to those higher states, right, to your greatest and grandest self.
Exactly. That's wonderful. Yes, because we. I think this has become already a cliche, but I think this is a brilliant cliche. So who cares? And that is that our greatest difficulties are also our greatest masters that eventually become our greatest gifts to the world.
Right.
So if we really understand, and one of the things that I keep telling people, and perhaps this comes out as a disappointment to hear that eventually the primal narrative is here to stay. It's a certain master in our life. Of course, it becomes increasingly refined, and whenever it is refined, it releases new levels of awareness, new levels of maturity, emotional maturity, maturity, soul maturity, and still it remains there, even in a subtle form. And what is important to understand, when we identify the primal narrative, it's also like finally recognizing consciously the root. You used the metaphor of the root and the tree before. We identify the root of our conflict with life, and then if we, instead of wasting time trying to work on the branches and the leaves and the fruits of that tree of friction, we should simply focus our shadow work on this root. If we are transforming that root, numerous conflicts, numerous interactions with life numerous patterns will change automatically.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So so you think would you say, for the listeners, then the foundation to understanding where this stuff resides is starting with like the questionnaire that you've set out to understand what your core chakra is?
Yes, that is the first thing, and of course, sometimes it's yes.
I'm sorry, is that doable on your website, or you got to get the book to access that? Like, where can someone do the questionnaire?
Yes, the questionnaire is quite available actually.
Yeah.
So you just type on Google chakra personality types questionnaire, and you have it. It appears on several of my websites.
Got it. Looking it up now. Cool. Um, so, I know one of the things that you talk about accessing, the chakras being sort of gateways to other dimensions of life as well.
Hmm.
And I'm just curious, I'd love to hear you speak on that, because we hear a lot of talk about dimensions and other dimensions, and there's many ways that can be looked at. So I'm curious what you mean when you say, that yeah, these basically these spiritual centers can be gateways to different dimensions of life.
Yeah, that's a profound point. Well, sometimes when we hear dimensions, we perhaps listen to that term mystically. Of course, I approach life as a mystical experience anyway. But when I speak of the dimensions of life, the 7 dimensions of life, this is because I actually regard chakras as gateways or means of vehicles for experiencing the 7 different layers of life. So this leads us to a much more radical understanding of what chakras are. Chakras are like our way of experiencing, ways of coming into contact with these different dimensions. So then there is I treat the 7 chakras as what I call 7 players, and the 7 players, they interact with each dimension, and each dimension is a world unto itself. For instance, the sacral chakra dimension is the dimension through which life is experienced as a play, as a game, as the joy of the senses. Through this chakra, we all of a sudden notice life's sensuality, life as a cosmic dance, and what becomes important to us are values such as joy and freedom and sensuality and sexuality and the body's intelligence. And on the other hand, through the third eye, the dimension we experience is the dimension of life as an unfathomable riddle, life as something to understand, to grasp, to delve into. So then we use our third eye to grasp life's mysteries and life as a organizing intelligence, that intelligence that guides and creates the laws of the universe. So through each of the chakras, there is a whole a different experience of life, and sometimes this makes us confused because we have this kind of complexity in us, and often we feel that one dimension is more important than others, so we invest more energy in that dimension.
Right.
And somehow we're supposed to live all these dimensions through fully, or as fully as possible, while also considering our chakra type. So
Yeah.
being human, nobody said this would be easy.
Yeah, that's definitely a true statement. And certainly, I guess there's times of ease, but certainly no shortage of challenge in most people's experience that I come across. Um, but that's what we came here too for. To grow through those things and that friction. And
Mm,
um, so when you hear a lot about someone's chakras being off or misaligned, or there's a lot of talk about aligning your chakras and getting them in a healthy balance. And um, I'm assuming you approach that topic as well in your books.
yes. Yes, of course. That's an enormous topic because that's the whole you can call it a science of chakras, because of course there is no such thing as a completely blocked chakra. We cannot say my chakra is blocked. We mean that the life force operating or active in a specific chakra flows only minimally.
Mm-hmm.
So because there are certain there is a certain clogging, a certain blocking of or hindering of that life force, which could of course result also in all kinds of psychosomatic disorders. Now, sometimes we approach this kind of open close thing pretty childishly, and we have on YouTube, for instance, countless videos promising instant chakra unblocking,
Yeah.
balancing the heart chakra, opening the root, all that.
Yeah. Yep.
But it's very important to understand that all those types of energetic um, work, all the are on can only work for a brief moment.
Yeah.
Because if we really want to work on a particular chakra, we have to understand its life themes, its life lessons, because chakras as a whole, I would call them, it's like the school of life.
Mm-hmm.
And to graduate from the chakras implies graduating from the school of life. It's like the chakras are the journey of or toward human wholeness. So when you really understand the themes and the emotional development, the psychological development that awaits you in each of the chakras, you begin to understand that only by responding to these themes fully can you truly open, balance a chakra in a way that is irreversible. That's why I speak of 4 levels of functioning in each chakra. Sometimes people find this notion challenging because it feels overwhelming, but it's manageable. But it all starts with a dysfunctional chakra, and dysfunctional chakra means that I'm simply too overwhelmed emotionally, psychologically, to even function in my and respond and engage in the activities and themes of that chakra. For instance, I don't know if you have we have a throat chakra imbalance, we would never go on stage.
Yeah.
So that's dysfunctional. We would simply refuse to even challenge ourselves because we would feel unable to do that. But then there is functional, which means that we are able to engage in the activities and to respond to the themes, but inside us, we experience complete emotional turmoil, and we experience deep imbalance in terms of our mastery over those themes. And then there is the third level of functioning, which is balance. And in balance, we have understood the themes of the chakra. We've understood what it wants from us, what kind of life lesson it wants us to learn. We have reached a certain state of independent stream of positive emotions in that chakra, and it's more or less calm, which means that mostly when we face challenges related to this chakra, we have this kind of quietude, this kind of mastery. Of course, not perfectly. We're not Buddha statues. We are humans.
Yeah.
And then there is the fourth level, and that is the highest or subtlest, and that is the awakened chakra. And the awakened chakra means that the spiritual essence of the chakra has been released, endowing us with a new level of consciousness. So together, the 7 chakras compose the 7 different layers of our expanded consciousness, and that is of course a wonderful state that we can glimpse into. It doesn't wait for us at the end of the road. We may have many glimpses into an awakened state of our chakras through meditation, for instance, or through dance, or through all kinds of practices.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. So, really, what you're saying is each chakra is somewhere in one of those 4 states at, at any given time. And the idea, of course, is to get them all to the 4th state. And would you say that really leads to someone being like an enlightened being if you get to the point of optimizing all your chakras?
Exactly. Yes, that's accurate. Yes. First of all, our challenge is, of course, to balance our chakras, which means to reach a psychological equilibrium, a psychological state of relaxation, peace in all of our chakras, and while having all those glimpses into awakened states. And eventually, we are supposed, or ideally, if we strive toward spiritual enlightenment, that would be our so-called goal, because it's goalless goal. It's not that we need to put ourselves under this kind of odd pressure.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, yes, when all our 7 chakras are fully open, and the vision of a fully open chakra is like an open flower. That's why, by the way, when our chakra feels unbalanced, a particular chakra feels unbalanced, the best way to balance a chakra instantly is to visualize how a flower gradually unfurls from within, from deep within that chakra toward the world. It's very important that it is facing the world, because that means, yes, I am willing to experience the challenges involved in this chakra. Yes, I am willing to face the world. My chakras are open to engaging with the world.
Interesting. So yeah, I guess that leads me to a question of, like, obviously going deep into your work and reading the books will be helpful, but is there any sort of techniques that you care to share? I mean, I think you just kind of gave one there, like doing a visualization, maybe the color and as a flower of it opening
Yes.
is one thing. Is there any other sort of practices that you would recommend people sort of engaging here at a high level can participate in?
Certainly, certainly. I would like to offer this practice, because I think that's the most immediate. What I love about chakras, one of the things that I think are the greatest advantage, is that they are a somatic tool, which means that that it's the body that speaks to us, not the mind, and they are immediate. And we all actually experience chakras. So what the practice that I would offer is something that I call the whisperer, the chakra whisperer, and that is learning how to truly listen to the chakras. And this is how we do it. We describe to ourselves. This can be done in written form, or it can be done by speaking audibly about a certain situation we experience right now. And we can do it for perhaps a few minutes. And then we need to focus on a particular event representing that challenge or situation. And then we need to begin to get in touch with the emotions and feelings and sensations that aroused as a result of this focus, and try to begin to contemplate what it feels like, not to analyze, but what it feels like at the level of deep feeling. And then here comes the contact with the chakra. Because when we ask ourselves, and that's so easy, which area of my body right now becomes most stimulated as a result of speaking about that situation and getting in touch with with those feelings. And then there's always a certain area, and this area is always chakra related. So then we need to tap into this part of the body and see how it feels energetically, how this issue feels energetically within that area, and perhaps even listening to what its energetic message is, what it wants to convey to us, and then also to get in touch with secondary areas because chakras they talk to each other. They have some kind of interrelationship as a result of a particular challenge. And then notice also to just highlight those relevant chakras, what doesn't respond right now, what areas in my body are completely silent, because these are chakras that have nothing to do with this challenge.
Mm.
So, of course, listening to that, perhaps I would feel it in my chest, perhaps in my belly, in my stomach, lower abdomen, legs, sexual organs, throat, head, forehead, anywhere. So, of course, some knowledge of chakras and their association with particular areas of the body is necessary, but listening to them directly is actually extremely revealing, and gives us this feeling that we can actually understand ourselves, not through the mind, not through analysis, but through our subtle body.
Mm. So, can you give an example of a situation that, for someone who's never done this, like, okay, what
Yes.
the issue would be, what they would speak, where they might feel it, and then what's revealed back by the chakra?
Yes, of course, of course. Let's say that I'm now I feel heartbroken as a result of someone breaking up with me
I've been experiencing that intensely for the last few months.
for the last few months. Okay, so that's and we all know.
Hardest few months of my life based off of that exact challenge.
I see. So we are tuning into
Yeah.
to your most prevalent challenge, perhaps right now. Well, so we, of course, sometimes we say, because we have this kind of basic chakra knowledge, we say, of course, this is the heart issue, but that's very superficial, because actually the way we experience this breakup can and the particular emotions and the lesson that we're meant to learn may not stem from the heart chakra, and that's why we need attentive listening. So we need to speak about the situation as much as possible, and then to think of the one event that most steered us, that brought us to our most extreme emotionality, or most extreme response related to that challenge. Get in touch with the feelings. Now, perhaps what we will feel is actually a suffocation in the throat, and then we will realize that this has something to do not exactly with emotions, but with self-expression.
Mm.
So perhaps it's something that we didn't get to say. Perhaps it's something that we want to say and we don't know how to say it. So perhaps it's a matter of self-expression, but perhaps it's a topic of related more to sexuality, or to our feeling of feelings of depression, or not, or feeling disconnected from life, and that would spring from our sacral chakra. So in short, we need to begin to listen, and then the chakras will tell us, this is your main topic. If you want to resolve that challenge, you need to listen to that particular chakra. This is the source chakra. And then when we begin to become more intuitive, we can even ask our body, okay, so this is the source chakra. Now tell me, what is the solution chakra?
Mm.
And that's really beautiful, because amazingly, all of a sudden you feel one of the chakras enkindled, and it's like a light bulb. It becomes illumined, and oh, this is my key. And perhaps my key is actually in the third eye, which implies that I need deeper understanding. Perhaps I need to work on my mind to master my emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a fun and playful way to explore my being, not based on all kinds of strict and rigid psychological maps, but through what our bodies tell us right now.
It's funny that I mean, it seems sort of serendipitous and you're tuning in because that is my own assessment of the lesson in it. Is it's the ultimate challenge that I've had, the biggest challenge to master my thoughts and mind around everything. The regret, the stories that are disempowering, there's a lot, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is like you know, the obsessive thinking about it or whatever, and how to focus on what I want next, what I want more of, what was not working for me, instead of maybe glamorizing or being nostalgic and just seeing through rose colored glasses. You know what I mean? And that's
Yes.
really, for me, what I've determined without using any system, just like this is
Yes.
happening for me to strengthen my ability to control my thoughts, less they run me and take me down a path of living in the past, living in regret of what I did or didn't do or should have done, and seeing things maybe not fully clearly as well, which makes it even more painful that you're just seeing and remembering the good parts, not the parts that, hey, I was really unhappy a lot of the time.
Yes.
That's like, so that's where I've landed on with it. And so that really makes sense because yes, it's a heartbreak, but the heartbreak solution is learning to master my thoughts and my mind. And as someone who's done a podcast for 10 years called Positive Head, it's the ultimate test I've come across to not get lost in, you know, thoughts that don't serve and that keep me disempowered and depressed or hurt or, feeling victimized or wounded or any of those things that are completely disempowering, as opposed to, where does
Wonderful.
spirit's always looking forward, not looking back. Where am I going? Where am I going to take and galvanize and know and trust that this is happening for me, and focus my precious attention and energy on creating more of what I want to see next, and not in a state of lack and limitation and, painful thought.
Yeah, that's a real teaching. And for me, you see what when you're saying that, for me it's as though you have been listening to the chakras, and it's just sometimes we do it through just the act of listening. It's still the chakras speak to us, but it doesn't necessarily take place through this kind of direct attention to chakras. But this is so beautiful, because what the chakras have told you, what your system, your inner wisdom has told you, has been: develop your third eye, bring your third eye to balance and eventually to awakening by learning how to harness your attention toward your greater good and beyond emotions, toward a certain unification of your being.
Yeah.
So that's a remarkable teaching.
Yeah, well said. I like the way you put that. So would you say, okay, based off of all of that share and getting us here, so a powerful practice for me, using me as the guinea pig here, which I often do on the show, it would be to really focus. And by the way, that has been something that I've also intuitively felt like this is an opportunity for me to go deeper into my meditation practice, deeper into tapping into my higher self and source, and which is very much attached to third eye sort of stuff, right?
Exactly,
And that's a
exactly.
very intuitive piece for me as well. So I think once again, you're spot on. So would you say that is part of the solution for me, is more practice focusing on attention on the third eye chakra?
Yes, exactly. This is because because I think your inner wisdom shows you that it's really not about trying to manage emotions directly, but actually creating inner order inside your being. Now, the third eye is called the Guru chakra, and I love it because it's not some kind of external guru, but it's our inner guru, uh, putting everything into order, making everything fall into place, helping us achieve this kind of complete picture, because when we are too emotional, it's as if we are looking at a painting too close. We are too close to that painting, seeing only fragments of it. So the third eye helps us step back.
Zoom out.
Yes, exactly. Achieving this kind of complete picture. And as a result, all of a sudden, when there is order, also all lower other lower chakras begin to settle, begin to be at ease.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, that makes a
Of
lot of
course,
sense.
again, that's not always the solution. That seems to be your solution right now.
I would agree fully with that. And great confirmation talking through this with you because yeah, I definitely feel that is and have felt that as the why. You know, why is this happening for me? I think it's always the question to pose um and so yeah, and not easy but worth it and leads us to even better, you know, more expanded experiences and growth, right? If we can alchemize and transmute the lesson, the pain, and turn that into pleasure, right? All right. Well, one thing I'd love to do as we sort of begin the wind down process a little bit here, I'd love to hear good stories of synchronicity, serendipity, positive paranormal stories. So I'm curious if you have anything like that up your sleeve to share.
Well, I think we're talking about how sometimes our greatest challenges lead us to our um, greatest masters and greatest transformations. And for me, this was actually a literal experience because when I was at the age of 24, I entered a deep, what is called in traditional literature, a deep Kundalini crisis, and this means that my chakra system, my subtle body, they became so overwhelmed by the spiritual transformation that took place that I actually felt that I was going to die, and that was horrific, and nobody understood what was going on. And then I began to wonder, looking for that kind of genius healer to help me finally relieve myself of that horrendous situation. And at a certain point, someone told me there is someone, a certain yogi, and that yogi understands Kundalini.
Mm,
So I went to that yogi, an American yogi, and he just came to where I lived at
mm,
that time. And when I met him as a healer, and he instantly recognized my issue. He immediately saw into the situation and knew how this should be handled.
mm.
Now, little did I know that this teacher, this healer, would become my teacher.
Wow.
And thanks to that Kundalini crisis, he became my teacher for 7 years,
Wow.
initiating me into the secrets of the chakras,
Wow.
teaching me how to master the chakras, and how to help many others to confidently navigate their subtle bodies. So now, at this point, thanks to this kind of coincidence, blessed coincidence, I'm never worried when someone has a Kundalini crisis. I always know how to respond to it because, well, I've gone through all the strangest symptoms one could ever experience
Mm.
in this realm.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, what a great example of the crisis leading to the gift to, you know, so without that, these books wouldn't exist. Your work probably wouldn't exist.
Right.
And I'm curious, you know, I just love to, you know, hear a little bit about your Kundalini experience. Because I'm curious, you know, and I've come across others and friends and things who've had a similar like crisis kind of experience with a
Mm.
Kundalini awakening. But I'm curious how that looked and then how it transitioned, how you integrated it, and how you experience that now.
Yes, well, That's a good question, and there's a whole science around it. Well, there is a one thing to understand is that the chakras are entwined around a certain nerve-like channel, and that is called the central channel or the central column.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is that this central channel is the most important channel through which our highest spiritual energy should be conducted all the way to the crown. Now, what happens is that sometimes the energy, instead of just flowing smoothly and seamlessly through that central channel, it begins to diverge. It begins to split and to become loaded in either our left side or our right side.
Mm-hmm.
And when this happens, this leads to all sorts of extreme situations. As long as the energy flows through that central channel, we can only experience bliss and balance. So what this teacher did, and this is because he had this kind of training in a Kundalini inspired tradition in India, was to help me with what is called Shaktipat. And Shaktipat is an energy transmission given by an expert teacher, guiding the energy to center itself within the central channel. And that is why this is also my focus in the teachings. As long as we know how to direct that energy, concentrate it within the central channel, there's nothing to worry about. There's no we are not going to experience severe imbalances as I did.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting. So with Shaktipat, it's like him laying hands on and transmitting energy that helped it to align you within yourself, essentially. Correct? Wow.
Exactly. Well, his teacher's teacher used his sandals. He, he actually told, this is India. India has these stories. He told his student, whose name is Swami Muktananda, the actually very famous Swami Muktananda. He told him one day, now take my sandals. And Muktananda lay his sandals over his head. And just through this touch of the sandals, he became enlightened.
Wow.
He lost consciousness for 7 hours, and then came when he came to, he was a different being. So
Wow.
yes, Shaktipat is mysterious.
Wow. Wow. And then
Yes.
for you, what was the experience after the assistance? How did that then feel to you to have aligned, activated Kundalini in your system?
Oh, it's a state of constant unconditional joy, constant unconditional bliss. This is the word that I would use, and a sense of inseparability. It's a sense of as if one is no longer an individual, a separate individual, but a part of the whole.
Yeah.
So this actually grew, of course, throughout the years, but as at a certain point it was stabilized. And this was the time I wasn't aware that it was stabilized. But at one night, my teacher called me after 7 years, and he told me it is over for you.
Wow.
It's the Kundalini journey is over. So now I didn't understand what he was talking about because it was all innocent and it was an internal experience. So I wasn't looking at it from the outside to assess where I was. And still, that was the point in which he sent me out to teach
Wow.
in the name of that tradition.
Wow. What a, fascinating. And so you feel it very just much aligned and activated within you even now.
All the time. Yes, it's there is a sense of a blossoming of the crown chakra, and then and an openness. The heart chakra is wide open, and there is this sense of centeredness, because being with one with our central channel is actually what we mean when we say be one with your core,
Yeah.
be centered. That is the true most profound meaning of centeredness.
Wow, beautiful. Well, this has been fascinating. I have so enjoyed our conversation, and I know the listeners have as well. For those who would like to connect with you, get your book or books, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, the books are everywhere, online and in bookstores. And in terms of getting to know my work, the first thing that I would invite listeners to do is simply check out my YouTube channel, which contains over 800 videos, including numerous guided meditations, of course, explanations about chakras, and how we can integrate the spirituality into our daily lives. So, and then there is, of course, my official website, which is simply shaitubali.com.
Wonderful. Well, I do have one final question here for you, and it is my cliche closing question. And it is this: in 60 seconds or less, what is the meaning of life according to Dr. Shai Tubali?
Oh my God. Well, the meaning of life is to engage. I'm looking at the watch to to make sure that. So the meaning of life would be to engage all our 7 chakras, communicating with all 7 dimensions of life, living an integrative life, fully experiencing all dimensions of life without overlooking any of them, without preferring just one of them and limiting ourselves. But we should always remember that in the end, the meaning of life is found in just one chakra, and that is our heart chakra. Deep within our innermost chakra, the interior of this chakra, we can tap into the meaning of life. We can never know the meaning of life analytically. It's not an answer. The meaning of life is, but it's something that we can know through our heart. And when we are aligned with it, we have no more questions. And when we have no more questions, we know this is it.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Well, thank you so much, my friend, for taking the time to come on and share your wisdom. And thank all of you for tuning in your beautiful brainwaves and incredible hearts to this episode. Until next time, journey well. Love you so, so much.
I love you so, so